Hello, everybody. It's Steve Mills here. Welcome to my podcast. It's great to have you here, and thank you for being so. Today, we're going to talk about a really important part of business, and that is how to make more profit. I've got a friend of mine who I've known for many years with us today. His name is Graham Wilson. I'm going to introduce him straight away and ask him if he could tell people a little bit more about himself and what he does. Welcome, Graham.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I've known Steve for a long time in various roles. I'm one of the old guys, a bit older than Steve, if anybody can be. And I've been around for a long time, developing a lot of businesses. I've been in pharmaceuticals, healthcare, med tech, architecture, a whole range of things, motorcycle helmets, a whole range of different things from manufacturing, predominantly around the service industry. Grew the largest outsourcing business in the world in pharmaceuticals. Been chairman of 6 companies, so director of about 8 or 9. Oh no, tell a lie, actually, it's 29. And my focus really now, and I trained as a formal business coach. And my work now, as Steve and I often talk about, is really about helping people to create wealth and exit. Because we've done all the leadership and the sales stuff and so on, and there are guys for marketing like Steve I would go to. But one thing people don't understand is, as Steve's talking about, how to create profit, how to create wealth. It's not always financial, but it usually is. And how to actually build a business to an exit. I often say the only way to have a business, the only reason to have a business is to sell it. And that makes you do all the right things.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
forces you to do all the right things that create value. So it's
yeah,
a really good mantra, is that.
yeah.
So yeah, done 500 million sales, a number of exits. So I'm still working and I'm still loving it. It
Yes.
energizes me.
And importantly, a fellow Yorkshireman.
A fellow Yorkshireman,
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah. We get everywhere, don't we?
We do.
But it's great to have you here. I'm really looking forward to, talking to you, asking some questions, and just to give the session a bit of a sort of overview, I suppose. If you think about business, as you mentioned there, Graham, the purpose of a business ultimately is to make a profit and then to sell it. If that's the purpose, then we now have to ask ourselves the question, how do we make more profit? And really, if you think about it, there are only two ways of making more profit. One is you can reduce costs, and we can all save something, can't we? I can turn off the lights and that'll save me a couple of quid this month.
Very
We
good.
can
Yeah,
we can
very
do
good.
cutbacks, we can save money. But the truth of the matter is, in most businesses, you got to spend something. And, no matter how much you save, whether it's 5%, 10%, maybe 20% you could save on your costs, it's still limited. But the truth of the matter is, as far as you want to grow your business, you could by doing the second thing, which is increasing sales. So if reducing costs is one way of growing a business or growing a profit, then increasing sales is the second. And to do that, as we all know, you've got to get more leads and you've got to be better at turning those leads into sales. And I always remember when I first got involved in marketing, which is it was actually over 31 years ago. Actually, it's 31 years since I set up my own marketing business. So it's probably way before that, actually. It was interesting, Graham. My first business actually was I decided that when I was about 9 or 10, I got this opportunity, strangely enough, to buy a load of umbrellas, right? And I bought like about 50 of these umbrellas. And my 9-year-old brain worked out, when do people need umbrellas? Well, they need umbrellas when it's raining. So I used to go down into the town where I lived on the outskirts of Sheffield, stand outside the supermarket in the rain selling umbrellas. And I sold them like hotcakes. Not quite everybody, but loads of people coming out there. And that was my first business, which is, let's just say, way over 30 years ago. But the truth of the matter is that when you learn about business, you decide who you're going to learn from. And one of the people, certainly back then, that I learned from was Jay Abraham.
Mhm.
And Jay has this little mantra that it says there are three ways of making more profit. One, you got to get more customers. Two, you've got to increase your average transaction value. And three, you've got to increase the frequency of repurchase to get them to come back and buy more and more. So, yeah, I think that's really true. And, in the world that we live in now, it's just becoming more and more. I don't know whether it's more complex or more simple, Graham, with the introduction of digital everything and AI world that we live in now.
I think many things are actually easier than they ever were, to be quite honest.
Yeah,
We used to do everything longhand. It took us forever. I mean, I use ChatGTP and various equivalents all the time. I mean, I can get things done in seconds that would have taken me days in the past. So yeah, it's easier in many ways, but more complex as well. Can I come back to your point about this thing about profit and growth, Steve? Because I think it's
yeah,
really important. When I'm choosing coaching clients, and I talk to coaching clients, and one of the key messages is I talk about fees. And if they say, oh, I can't afford that, if they've got a cost mentality, I might not actually work with them as a coach, because
sure.
that's different from an investment mentality. Because what
Yeah,
you and I and many others bring is it's actually investing in yourself and your business. And it's the long-term review. So when people look at it, and when you look at exiting a business and creating wealth, if you talk to accountants, usually accountants say, yeah, well, you've got to increase your revenues and you've got to reduce your costs, and that gives
yeah,
you valuation. No, it doesn't. Actually, there are many other ways of increasing your valuation, and that starts off with actually the human resource aspects of it, the capability of people, the talent in the organization. That in itself increases value by 22%. And then you go up the line to things that you and I talk about, which is the positioning. It's about the branding and
yeah,
all those things that do drive the top end. So it's a range of things. And systems was always the second rung, and even more so now. So I think it's an interesting mix. So let's look at this thing you mentioned about cost. Yes, uh, we've touched on AI. You can't avoid AI now. It's here. I was intrigued only today to see another article that said not only is AI actually killing jobs, but something like 50% of businesses are now stating they're actually creating new jobs because of AI,
yeah, yeah,
which is interesting because what AI is doing is it's enabling businesses to move faster and to learn more about other areas of the business, new sectors, and so on to bring it in. And my big concern I see with people knee jerk, in particular when financial people get hold of AI and see that, oh, well, I can get rid of 28 to 30 people and put an AI in and reduce that cost. It's short term thinking. Because the problem is when you do that, we think of an organization, your company, you've got all this talent you may have had with you for years. They've got loyalty, they've got skills, they've got understanding of your business. And
yeah,
losing that is a huge loss, and replacing it is a huge issue. Whereas if AI enables you to do other things, how do you use those people
to get
and how do you
more
help?
out of them. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, help them to reinvent themselves. And everybody listening to this is going to have to learn to
yeah.
reinvent themselves constantly. You and I have done it since 1989. The internet came in, etc., etc. You have to constantly reinvent, and more so. And that's one of the complications I think you mentioned, Steve, is we've got to learn to reinvent to a really incredibly fast changing world. And we don't know where it's going to go.
No, 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 no. I
Nobody can
mean,
predict it.
if you'd have asked me about AI 6 months to a year ago, I'd be going, oh yeah, Chat GPT's brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, it'll do all this and it'll do that and it'll do the other thing as well. And now, I rarely use it because there's things that have overtaken it, that I use like Manus and other, Claude and it's just, you wonder what's coming next, don't you? You
You do.
really do. Um,
And I think one of the problems that small businesses face in particular is they think that AI is the be all and end all. You ask it a question, but it's the one thing I've learned as a coach when I help people to change their lives, never mind their businesses, significantly, um, is that you've got to know how to ask the right questions. And like yourself, I know a number of marketing people, and I meet people that talk about, oh, I've done my new website and everything, and I look at it and it's still horrendous.
Yeah.
And you ask why? Because they've not asked AI the right questions. If
No,
you ask,
no.
it's the old crap in, crap out.
Yeah.
And small businesses think that AI will do it, and it won't. That's why there's still a need for a bit of grey hair sometimes. Say, let's ask it this
Yeah.
in this way, and then you get a much more solid response from AI that's much more valuable. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you still need people to help you know which questions to ask.
You absolutely do. And you also need to, make sure that when you are asking AI, you ask it in the right way. So you start by positioning AI. If I go to AI and I say, can you write me a social media post to go out on LinkedIn about marketing? That's one way of instructing it. And it's in a way, it's a little bit like a person. It'll go out and find something as quick as it can and do it. A little bit lazy, if you will. But if I said to it,
Mm.
you're one of the world's leading copywriters and a specialist in social media, I want you to do the research and find what the top sales and marketing experts are writing about right now. And I want you to check and find out what's really being boosted, what's popular, what's flavor of the month right now. And I'd like you to write me 10 social media posts based around what's really working right now. I'm sure you can see now the difference in the two results that I'm going to get are
Yeah.
miles apart. One's going to do right, a quick social media thing and write me that. The other's going to be like a world class one. Down to what? Down to what you've said, the way I've briefed AI.
Absolutely. And you see this, I mean, I use it daily, and it's fabulous, but I think it's very much about. So I think for a lot of people listening to this, don't think it's just as easy as that. You've got to get the question right. And often you
Yeah.
still need expertise for somebody who's been doing it for a while to know which sorts of questions to
Yeah,
ask.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You need to
So
get
on
yourself
profit, I think,
trained as well. But
yes, absolutely.
people are
But my,
just
my issue with the
using.
training is, as you said earlier, you're going to train for something today. 3 weeks from now, it's
Yeah,
it's obsolete the way AI is moving forward.
that is
That's the
that
danger
is
you've
true.
got.
Yeah, yeah,
I would rather have you do all that donkey
yeah,
work for me and
yeah.
keep you up to speed. I don't have time to do all that. I'm
No,
running other
that
businesses.
that, that is very, very true.
Yeah, it's changing constantly. So I think on the cost front, your two things about cost and generating growth. I think there's so much you can do on cost. You should never take your eye off the cost. One question I ask so many businesses I work with, and it's a simple question. I say, where do you make your money? I'll tell you what, 7 out of 10 customers I talk to don't know where they make the money.
No, no,
They actually don't know
no,
where. Is it in the
no.
profit? Is it in the service? Which one? Why? They can't actually put the finger on it. They're just doing what they do every day. They don't really understand the numbers. So understanding the numbers is so important, and
Yes,
knowing what kind of business is right.
yeah,
Is there, you make a lot of money with one business, but actually it pulls your cash back to 90 or 110 days. Well, is that right for your business? So
yeah,
there's lots more general questions you need to ask
sure.
about that. But yeah, we always need to look, and I'm involved in cares and care business and care homes. So you can imagine cost control is a huge thing when you're running a hotel business, if
Yeah,
you like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
with particular health needs. So I think, yeah, absolutely, you've got to do that. But don't think it's the be all and end all for creating value. Can I talk a bit about growth? Because I've got a passion about growth like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have.
yeah, of course you can. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you mentioned a few minutes ago,
What?
just before we started, about are you going to cover your 6 ways to grow your business? Would that be?
Yes, I
Yeah,
am.
yeah,
Yeah,
great. Okay,
I'd like to cover that
yeah, yeah, yeah,
because there are so many books. I mean, you go back to Grindr and everything else. There's an amazing amount of work on growth and so on. But I think there are 6 fairly simple principles. You and I haven't discussed these, but I don't think they'll conflict with what you do, Steve. I think the first thing people get wrong is they don't really understand the positioning
mm,
or sometimes repositioning. So
yeah,
what are you? And the word I would use is, what are you famous for? Do you
yeah,
really know what your customers say about you? Oh,
mm,
this guy's great. He's fast. He's quality. Whatever you need to understand what it is because he's got fantastic customer service team. You've got to understand that is and get to the bottom of your positioning and make sure that's there. We've all seen the statements. We try harder, never knowingly undersold. All those classic ones, which actually drive a lot of the purpose within the business as well. Is
yeah,
how we position ourselves, and you constantly should be looking at that. Ask your customers, and find out where am I. And in a changing market, Steve, as you alluded to, with a market that's evolving and changing, new products, you really need to be very, very clear on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, as an individual as well, but very much so as a business. And I find often that's really missing out. So the first thing is to get that right. Number two, channels. What new channels can you go to? What are the new channels? Can you expand on existing channels as well? Because now, again, we're getting information, we're getting research done faster and better than ever before, thanks to our friendly AI. So you should always be looking at new channels. What else can we do? How can we take this position, what we're brilliant at? How can we evolve that and shift that somewhere else and actually expand our business by doing what we do better in a slightly new sector or market? So let's look at the channels first of all.
Yeah.
The next one, which is not unusual, is what can we do for new products or new markets? And you should always be thinking about that. Is there a new product? Is there a product iteration? Is there something that, as the world's changing, we can actually, we can do that now. We couldn't before, but now we could do that very easily. Are there new markets as a result who are suddenly interested and understand what we do? So you should constantly be looking at product development and market development as it's shifting, which gives you opportunities. Within that, probably another one of you and I have talked about this over the years is pricing and packaging.
Yes.
I'm going to talk about pricing. And nearly every client I work with has got self-limiting beliefs on price. Oh, I couldn't possibly ask that price. Oh no, everybody else, I'm about same as everybody else in the business. But why does that matter?
Yeah.
Why does that matter? What will the market carry? And I've done that. I had a business in care. We did a 30% price increase and we didn't lose one client because the quality and reliability of the service was such. When I explained why we'd had to do that, it was a no problem. And people go, you can't do that. Of course you can do that. It's this self-limiting belief with pricing. We tend to anchor with what everybody else is doing. Well, how do we know they're right? How do we know they've done the right work?
I totally agree. And particularly, I think in the, the area of work that we work in, the advisory world, let's call it that. It's actually, I say to people, it's irrelevant what I charge. All that matters is what's your profit. If I charge them, I don't know, 1,000 a month or 10,000 a month, doesn't matter if I'm making them 50 grand a month, and a lot of people don't realize that. Or if I run a business that saves them money, if I save them, I remember a client of mine sold these machines into local authorities that cost £2.5 million for the machine, but saved their client 10 million over the next 5 years. It's a no-brainer, isn't it? Why wouldn't you buy that? Assuming you've got £2.5 million, that is, and you can afford to buy it. But it's the price of it doesn't really matter. What matters is, as you said, it's how good it is. Is it worthwhile buying? And I think that's a really important one.
Well, that's the value proposition. That's the way it's packaged, and it's the way it's marketed and sold, and it's about the brand that you build. That. I mean, I love that Stella Artois. Reassuringly expensive.
Yeah.
Great line, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's guaranteed headache for me, Stella, but we won't go into that one.
Too many of them.
Most people actually have got these the thing I teach people is poo. We're all poo. We're all prisoners of our own experience, and we are prisoners of our past beliefs and past experience, and it actually sticks in, and we can go into the neuroscience about why this happens to us. So there's a lot of, we can't possibly do that. Well, the world has changed so much, you can do anything almost if you think about it.
Yeah.
If you think about it, you can't do anything. For young people listening, you can't do anything. I'm sorry, you're not all going to be earning 100 grand a year by the time you're 25. Ain't going to happen. In the top 1%. But you can do most things. You can do most things, and you've got to get rid of this pricing thing. Do your pricing, and same with packaging as well. Pricing and packaging always go together. Yeah. How do you get more creative with the packaging? We know that Mars bars are smaller than they ever were, and so on. So some of that's actually not particularly consumer friendly, but you have to look at it. There are so many methods now of making packaging such more interesting, and of course, Amazon delivers it to our door every day. The two more to go. One is leverage. And I think leverage is one that a lot of people don't look at, and that is, how do I partner with? How do I have a strategic alliance or a partnership with somebody else who's doing something like me but better than me, or something that adds a synergy to me? Why am I frightened of opening up books and talking to them? What would happen if I said, look, if we talk about this without taking each other's business, can we both grow by coming together? And often you can. And a lot of it's quite, that's the toughest one probably for most people. It needs a fair bit of nous. But if you can do that and find someone to partner with, it can do an awful lot for your growth, can that?
Again, I was talking about Jay Abraham earlier, and many years ago I went on a workshop of his. It was interesting on the pricing front and on this sort of joint venture front. It cost $1,800, and I'm talking probably best part of 30 years ago for a 4-day seminar. And I got there thinking I'm going to be one of 20 or 30 people in the room. There were 3,800 people there, and every one of them had given him that sort of money. So you work that out over a daily rate, which is not bad. But I remember the second afternoon, we were there for 4 days, and we were all sat on these like big round tables in this massive room. And each table was allowed to ask Jay one question. And our question was, if you were only allowed to run one form of marketing, you couldn't do anything else, just one form of marketing, what would it be? And Jay said, without any shadow of a doubt, it would be joint ventures, joint venture marketing, he called it, and so what you're saying is absolutely, incredibly valuable. But most don't do it, do they? They go, oh,
well, we tend to be very insular, don't we?
Yeah, they do it. They try it. Somebody says, no, not really. They go, oh, well, that don't work then. And then they go off and try something else.
It's also fear, because when you do a joint venture, one of the issues is you potentially lose control, and you don't necessarily have the trust, the integrity with those people at first. It takes a while. You don't know what the quality is going to be like, consistency, and all those things build in a fear of doing it. And once you overcome that and say, actually, if it does work, though, how good could it be? It can be really powerful.
Yeah.
Now, my favorite one is the last one, actually, and I do this with a lot of people, and it's called client-based management.
Okay.
And so often I go to clients who've got multiple clients and so on. And apart from asking them, one, where do you make your money, which most don't know, I say, can you give me, of whatever your list is, usually the bottom 10 clients you've got. And that's a problem for them. Number one, they don't know. So I said, well, go away and find out, not just in terms of income, but actually I'd like to know in terms of profit, who are your bottom 10 clients. And they come back and they show me them, and some are quite horrendous. They've not made any money for them, and they've had them in some cases for years, not made any money. And my question is, well, why are they still clients? Well, we like them. Oh, so that's your business. You're a charity. Well, no, of course we're not. Well, you're not making any money for next year, so why have you still got them?
Yeah.
And they go, well, it just becomes, it's very easy for business to slip into having business with a customer that doesn't actually make you any money. Now, there's a way you can, if it's a new customer and it's got bags of potential and you want to bring them in at a lower price and you believe you can actually increase that price over time, which isn't easy. But if you can do that, or it's a trial or a pilot, then maybe that's acceptable. But in most cases, if your clients aren't making money, get rid of them. And the way I suggest to do that for most clients is actually go along to the clients and sit down with them and say, look, I've got two options today talking to you. One is I'm not making any profit on you, and it's actually stupid of me to keep working with you. I'd like to keep working with you. So I either have to say, I'm sorry, you resign, or number two is I need to actually say to you, I need a 25% price increase or whatever it is in order to stay with you. And do you know what? Serious experience of this is probably about 6 out of 10 people you go to and say, I need a pricing, we'll say, okay. Providing you're providing the right service, the quality, the timeliness, the value, not cost, the value, then people will do that if you put it in the right way. But if they don't, get rid of them.
Yeah.
Get rid of them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
And you get bought, if you've got 100 clients, you've got 10 not making the money, get rid of them, then it actually adds a huge amount to your growth and your profits, which we're talking about here. It's grows your profits dramatically.
I'm working with a few accountants at the moment, and one of them is suffering with this exact problem that you're talking about right now. He's trying to introduce this real high level service, which is basically a service that enables businesses to outsource their financial function of their business, so they're not just an accountant to, doing end of years and stuff like that, but that's not marketing department, they're their finance department. But the trouble is they've got loads of these people who they're doing tax returns for, once a year, 80 quid to do a tax return, and whilst I think it's, there's probably a profit there, but how many 80 quids do you need to equal one outsourced marketing department to a multi-million pound business? It's fairly obvious what they need to do, and that's what they're working on doing.
Absolutely, absolutely, and so often that's the case. So that's another way, for getting this wonderful thing called growth, and it's working. And there's another, I think, really important thing, Steve, when I talk to business owners, medium-sized and large businesses, and that is actually the mistake that most of them make in terms of how they use the time, and they don't understand the value. I've met business owners who will tell me in the one breath in discussion, they can go out for a week and they can bring £250,000 worth of business in if they go on tour Ireland or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, okay, so tell me, and how's this week gone so far? Well, one of the drivers didn't turn up, so I went out and drove the van for a day. I said, this is serious.
I know.
So it's a £14 an hour.
I've heard it so many times.
Yeah. It's a £14 an hour job, or someone didn't turn up in the department, or I've had to help so-and-so out because he was having a problem with this. Now then, if you actually look at the value, most owners don't understand the value they can bring to a business if they actually focus on strategy.
Yeah.
And that strategy, a key part of that strategy is growing the business. That's a major part of it. Is where do we get growth? For my personal wealth, as well as keeping everybody in the team employed and everything that suits your mindset. And most people don't do it. They spend all day buggering about, working about small red things and admin. And they've got people, this guy's struggling. I'm going to have to spend 4 or 5 hours helping him. I say, actually, I think you should spend 40 minutes and fire him. Yeah. If you're paying him 40 grand a year and he can't do the job, he's the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
I remember, and I know you know of this guy, the E-Myth Michael Gerber book. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, in it, he says that I think it's something like 80% of businesses fail within 5 years, and he says that there are many reasons for that, but the number one reason is that the owner of the business is not an entrepreneur. He says they're a technician suffering from an entrepreneurial seizure, and what he basically means by that is most people set up a business. I'll give you a couple of examples. I'm a hairdresser, so I set up my own hairdressing salon. I'm a lorry driver, so I set up my own haulage business. I'm a solicitor, so I set up my own legal practice, believing because I can do the work that the business does, that I can run a business that does that work. And as Gerber says, it ain't true. Driving lorries ain't going to build you a massive business as a haulage company, because you'll be good at finance, at HR, at marketing, at managing people, at leadership, at planning, and so on and so forth. Driving lorries is these days it's probably way more than a 14-pounder, but it's a 30 or 40-pound job, and it's a totally different thing. And Gerber says if you're a lorry driver, go and set up a hairdressing salon, and if you're a garage mechanic, go and set up a legal practice, because you can't do the work. I think he's saying that a little bit tongue in cheek, but at the same time we understand the reasoning behind that. Most businesses are like one person business, and they go out and they do the work. They just work and work and work and work and work, get incredibly busy, incredibly frustrated, and have a mental
Ultimately, they get stressed
seizure
and they
and
have heart attacks. They have
finish up 5 years down the line. They've lost their house, they've lost their car. I always remember somebody saying to me, when I first started out in business, I sold a lot in the first year. So I sold my house, I sold my car.
That's very true,
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But,
yeah,
but there are so many. I mean, my plea, I probably sound like, the really hard old guy. I'm not actually. I believe you build your people, you put them in the right thing, you find talent and you create that talent and that capability. My mantra is first build the people and the people build the business. But if they're not doing it, you've got to move them out fast.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what comes with grey hair and experience of running businesses of up to 3,500 people and 500 million and so on, never mind
yeah,
startups.
yeah,
You've got to do that. So that's why, and I think what you're saying, Steve, is right. These people that do go from lorry driver, hairdresser to whatever, they've got such passion and drive.
yes.
But the
They
problem is it's
love doing
directing.
what they do. Yeah,
And that's why they need that. This is me saying now, my coaching hat when I'm a non-exec. You need someone to come in and say, okay, let's talk about this.
yeah,
How could you be doing it better? Why are
yeah,
you buggering about doing that? Because
yeah.
your
When you
values,
should
you
be.
went out and did this. What could you really do for the business?
Yeah,
So it's when you've not done it before. It's like if you and I got into drive a lorry, we'd be completely lost trying to
yeah,
reverse a lorry up a
yeah, yeah,
driveway.
yeah,
We'd knock
yeah, yeah,
everything over. Whereas these guys do it second nature.
yeah,
So it's what we do.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's really important to make sure that your time, you understand your value. And then once you understand how much you're worth an hour, if you're bringing in £500,000 of the business, you work that out what you're worth an hour into hundreds of thousands of pounds an hour.
Yeah,
Don't end up doing a £20 an hour job.
no, no,
Bring
no.
people and invest in people that can do that to allow you to be free to bring in the growth and the ideas. And within that, of course, is innovation within strategy and
Yeah,
thinking and you don't innovate unless you go out and talk to people and you find
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what's
yeah,
out there.
yeah, yeah,
That's where the ideas come from.
yeah.
Talking to people,
It
think,
is
gosh, we could do
absolutely.
that if we did this. And
Yeah,
suddenly, bang,
yeah.
you've
I
got your new
always
product in a new
remember.
market.
Do you know of Peter Thompson?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I remember Peter saying, I went on one of his seminars many years ago, and he said, get a piece of paper. This is a really good tip for anybody watching. Get a piece of paper, write 3 columns down it, and at the top of the left-hand column, write the word £10. In the middle, £100, and on the right-hand side, £1,000. And then make a list of all your tasks, everything that you do, and then put them into one of those 3 columns. He said, what you'll find, even as an owner of a business, you're spending most of your time in the £10 task column. And
Yep.
your job is to stop doing £10 tasks, to get out of it and spend your time in the £1,000 tasks instead of the £10 tasks. And it's just a really, really good. That always sunk in with me, and I actually physically did it and struck like bookkeeping. I haven't done bookkeeping for years and years and years because I hated doing it. I'm not very good at it. There's mistakes that the accountant then spends hours trying to find, and I could pay somebody, well, probably about 15, £20, something like that in today's world. But point being, I get rid of that task, which is something I don't like doing, and I can focus on making money.
Absolutely. And I think on the growth thing, there are tips there about, positioning channels, new products, pricing, leverage, client base, and all that sort of stuff. But I think at the end of the day, it's whoever's leading the business, and that could be the board or a partnership or whatever. It's not always one person, but are they focused on the right things and the strategy and getting it moving?
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and
yeah.
a part of that is one of the other dangers I see with small to medium size. They suddenly think, oh, an AI is probably one of the dangers now is, oh, well, I can do my marketing myself now. Or I can do I've had this recently. I can do my legals myself now. I'm involved with the deal now. And one of the buyers has just gone on chat GTP and he's written out the heads of terms and they're full of holes. I mean, I'd
Yeah.
be happy to sign them, but he's at huge disadvantage because he's not worked with lawyers and doesn't understand it.
No, no, no.
So we shouldn't fall into this trap of trying to think because we're there, we can do it. No, we know what needs doing. Make sure you've got the right people to do that, to support you. And you do what you're brilliant at. That's my business is called Excel at. It's what you excel at. You
Right,
should
right.
focus on
Okay,
what
I
you
didn't know
excel
that.
at.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Is what
yeah.
you should
Okay.
excel at.
Excel at. Yeah,
And not just focus. I talk to my guys, and I think I've heard you do it similarly. Focus isn't enough. I talk about bloody-minded focus.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the top guys in the world; they are absolutely focused. That people sometimes think they're offhand and everything,
Yeah,
but they are focused.
yeah.
Don't answer emails till 10 o'clock in the morning
No.
and after 3 o'clock. Tell everybody, because we all do it. We're going with great intentions to work or to our desk.
Yeah, again, I was such I'd spend hours and hours and hours dealing with emails that had no benefit whatsoever to my business. And now I don't. And now I'm able to focus much better by not doing that. So I have an AI assistant I was telling you about.
You were telling me, it sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
But that's what it's about, is about this bloody-minded focus, which we go in with a great idea for the day. We have a list of things we want to do. And by lunchtime, we haven't touched our list because we've been helping everybody else and answering questions and being the nice guy or just answering emails because they're there. Don't answer them.
No.
Do your work and then do it when you can. So it's about
fantastic.
Planning this thing about strategy. My focus, do I have a growth mindset?
Yes.
Do I have a growth mindset?
Yeah.
And many people don't.
Brilliant. Well, I'm going to bring it to a close because you and I, when we get together, Greg,
we could talk for hours.
We could talk for hours, couldn't we? We could go down this route or that route now, and we'll have to do this again. We'll have to try and do another one. But for now, I'd like to thank everybody for watching. I really appreciate it. I really hope we've added some value to you. And what I really hope is actually, do you know what? That you take action. Because that's why I know Graham and I are here. We don't want to hear, oh, yeah, thanks, that was really interesting. What we want to hear is, oh, yeah, thanks, that was really interesting. And this is what I'm going to do. Or ideally, in a week's time, this is what I've done. And now, if you want Graham's help or my help, we like to just present the opportunities, if we may. So I'm going to ask Graham firstly, if people want some help from you, Graham, what do they do? Where do they go? What website or phone number, email, whatever?
Yeah, I would say contact me. I prefer email, which is grahamwilson@excelat.co.uk. That's EXCELAT, as in what you excel at.
Yeah,
Okay. Or you can phone me. I always love to take a call, much better, and that's 07976 607 578. And I'll get back to you as soon as I can, depending on what my schedule's like. And that'd be great. Fantastic. If I can help people, fantastic.
Great. If you want to hear from me, resultsmastery.com is results-mastery.com is my website. Or you can go to Steve at results-mastery.com. Telephone number 07977 074 497. If you want to go to my website, you can book in on my diary on an automatic way so that you can book a time that suits you. Other than that, as I say, thank you for being here. Hope you've enjoyed it and look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks very much for listening.
Thank you, everybody.